Hey everyone, Andrew here. So if you've been around the channel for a bit, I've mentioned Falcom a few times, and on the more recent stream and on the Discord channel, I have kind of made an announcement that I would like to go through and stream all of the East games. Going to be doing that in story order, and I think it's going to be a really good time, just a really chill experience. I guess a little background. When I was very young, my dad introduced me to the TurboGrafx CD system with Ys Books 1 and 2. And he introduced it to me as, this is kind of like Zelda but with cool music. And he was definitely not correct in the slightest on that. But it's definitely become one of my favorite game franchises, and honestly, like, Falcom as a whole has become a bit of a fascination for me over the years. I've picked up a lot of their games, and I've played through, the entire Trails series, and, all the East games. I obviously have played those, and, I was just kind of thinking about it, and I've got quite the collection here, and I wanted to just kind of share it with y'all so you can see that when I sit there on streams and I say, man, I love the East series, I really want to stream it for y'all, I want to share my, just share my love for this niche franchise, and I just kind of wanted to show you all how serious I am when I say I love Falcom and all of their games. I even got, like, over there on the door, I've got the Falcom 40th anniversary scroll. Maybe I'll post a picture of that on the Discord or the community tab. But anyways, let's just get right into it. I guess we'll start with probably the easiest to show. So I've got myself my little Lloyd Banning's plushie. It's my favorite character from the Trails franchise. I saw this and I kind of had to have it because it's in that style of the game, and it's really cool. He's usually up there on the shelf. Yeah, Lloyd Banning's a great character. Love him so much. Kind of sticking to that theme. I've got these little acrylic standees of the cast from Trails from Zero and Trails to Azure. It's my favorite duology of the Trails games. I think they're just a great cast of characters, and I think those games are, honestly, if you are an RPG fan, you owe it to yourself to try Trails from Zero and Trails to, just play that duology. The cross-build duology is what it's called. Phenomenal RPGs, lovable cast of characters, great music, everything's great with that game. Okay, so I guess going on with more like shelf presence collectibles. I have this statue of Reen Schwarzer. He is the protagonist, main character from Trails of Cold Steel. This is his, I believe, Cold Steel 4 attire. It's really cool, very detailed. I want them to so badly make a Lloyd Banning's for, statue with that same detail, because that'd be really cool. Just saying, I would like that. All right, so I guess, yeah, let's do books. So I've got the Ys art book, very cool. It's this is actually the 25th anniversary art book. So I think it has up to Memories of Celceta. It's kind of fascinating because well, the series Ys is about to be 38 years old this year. So I mean, a lot of great classic art from Falcom just over the years. Absolutely love it. Especially these like older pieces from like original PC Engine era Ys. It's just really cool. All the way back in the 80s, basically. Okay, so I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna do this. I think I'm gonna set this here for now, just to be safe. Okay, and then outside of that, I've got the Legend of Heroes, the illustrations, which again, it's got my boy Lloyd Bannings on it. This is more of a general, like, Trails franchise art book. It kind of covers the like the Trails in the Sky trilogy up into Trails from Zero and Trails to Azure. We've got, so this is the illustrations. This is more just like generalized art, and then I also got the book for the characters. So this is more about just general character art. The really cool thing is, it's gonna be hard to do this. You can actually put them together for like a complete image. It's really neat. Like that a lot. Those books are really neat just because, you know, Falcom, they're such a low budget company. Like, they don't have that much money, but their art team and their music team, they do work. And I guess going in from that, let's move on to the music that I have. Which, you know, I actually shocked myself when I was putting this together, because I honestly didn't realize how much music I had for Falcom. So I guess this is the easiest way. So I've got the Ease 8 Lacrimosa Donna. It's not the complete soundtrack CD, but it is like a selection CD. It's got all the songs that you want, including a few like bonus tracks. So that's really neat. I've got a couple loose CDs. These are from the PSP collector's editions for East 7 and East the Oath and Felghana. Fantastic games. I love East 7. I think it's definitely my top 3 for the East games. Really excited to get to that one on stream. So I've got the East 9. I believe this is the sampler soundtrack I got from the Japanese copy I acquired. So yeah, this is a mini soundtrack from my Japanese copy. And then this is the other East 9 CD. It's actually got a slightly different track list from the Japanese one, but this is the one I got with the NIS America Collector's Edition for East 9. It's got more on there. Pretty cool. This is the Oddball Trails game. This is Nayuta no Kiseki. This is actually, it technically is a Trails game, but it's more of a spin-off. But yeah, this soundtrack's pretty good. It's a PSP era Falcom game. It's pretty good. I mean, that's where E7 came from, and that was an absolute banger. So I've got my Trails of Cold Steel 4. So this came from my NIS America copy of Trails of Cold Steel 4. It's just a selection. It's 15 songs. They are good though. Falcom, their soundtracks are always phenomenal. So here we go. We're getting into probably my favorites. So Trails from Zero. Again, this is just another NIS America CD that came with my copy of Trails from Zero. It's got 10 tracks, but they're all bangers, rest assured. And to follow that, of course, we have Trails to Azure, which is the follow-up to Trails from Zero. Love these soundtracks. They're so good. The reason these are sealed is because I have the soundtracks digitally. So this is actually a more recent one that I acquired. It's the I got this from a Japanese import of the Ease Memoir Oath and Felghana. So this was a import copy. I pre-ordered and imported the Memoir Oath and Felghana. Didn't expect it to get an English release because it was Oath and Felghana, but they did do that, and so that's why I'm holding off on getting Memories of the Memoir Memories of Salsetta. Okay, so back to some Trails. I got the Kiseki 15th Anniversary Vocal Collection. This is just all the vocal tracks from the Trails franchise. all the way up to Cold Steel 4, I believe. Yep, there's No in No World. So that's really neat to have quite a lot there. And then this is still sealed. I have the Kuro no Kiseki. This is basically how they released the soundtrack for the collector's edition of Kuro no Kiseki in Japan. Of course, you know, that's if you don't know what Kuro no Kiseki is, in English it's Trails from Daybreak, which is the more recent duology that's been released. And then finally, this will be familiar to anyone who watched my vinyl series, my vinyl video. It's my Ys 8 Lacrimosa Donna vinyl box set. Really want to crack this open sometime because this is a phenomenal soundtrack, and I'll probably be playing music from this on this very video that you are watching right now, because you know it's just that good. In fact, if I had to hazard a guess, I will make the entire soundtrack to this video Falcom. It just makes sense. All right, so let's move on to some Switch games. I think that's the way to go right now. So this is a big pile. All right, so get ready, brace yourself. I'm gonna go through these relatively quickly. So I've got physical copies of Ys Origin. I'm gonna really quickly rearrange these, don't mind me. That was a very poor idea on my part, stacking them the way I did. All right, so I got Ys Origin. This is by .emu. I actually picked this up at Best Buy really cheap. It was kind of just sitting in like a little bargain section, which is crazy to me because I mean this game's really good, but you can get it digitally for like 20 bucks, and I think I paid like 15 for this. But yeah, Ys Origin, technically a prequel, but don't play it before the first one. So that's cool. Glad to have that. Here's my aforementioned Ys memoir, Oath and Felghana. This is one of the games that I think most people who play Ys will say this is one of their favorites. It's very good. The memoir version has some upgrades, like you can double boost, which if you don't understand what that means, that's a-okay. You will learn when I stream it. Okay, moving on. I've got my Switch copy of Ys 8, Lacrimosa Donna. Of course, I've inverted the case art because it's really nice case art. And following that up, we got Ys 9, Monstrum Nox, Switch copy. Also inverted the art on that as well, just because it's just cool. I like it when games have, you know, reverse covers. All right, so that I believe was the last of my Ys games on Switch. So we'll move into here. This is gonna be an interesting one, I feel. So I've got my deluxe edition Trails from Zero. I've said it on multiple occasions that Trails from Zero is definitely probably in my top 3 JRPGs of all time, and I think if you are into JRPGs, you should play this. Although I can't be a fan and, you know, sit here and tell you to just play this, because I highly recommend you start from the beginning with the Trails games, because the way the world building works is it's pretty much crucial to play them in order. Start with the Sky trilogy, then Crossbell, then Cold Steel. All right, so with that, got Trails to Azure. You know, it's the sequel to Zero. Very awesome games. Just love them so much that you're about to see them again. So I'm gonna kind of just hold both of these up. These are, I believe, these are the Trails from Zero and Azure Kai releases. So these were the Clouded Leopard Entertainment releases. These came out well before it was announced that we were ever going to get official English translations for these games, which is why I have them, because I wanted them. I had played the English fan translation patch by the Geofront team, and so I already knew what's going on in these games. They're just fun to play, and I wanted them in my collection. And yeah, then later actually got the Geofront team to help them translate. Well, they really just reused the translation, let's be real. Basically got them together and said, hey guys, you've already done the work. Let's just throw this together and release it on everything. Anyways, moving on. So these games, I actually am a little confused on these. So I have original Trails from Cold Steel is the Kai version, I do believe, is what they went with for these. So this is the Japanese version. So the Trails from Zero and Azure that I had that I just showed you is actually the just Asia release, so like the Chinese release. Well, not Chinese, but I believe it's like what they put out in Hong Kong. So this is an actual Japanese copy of Cold Steel. And to follow that up, I've got the Japanese Cold Steel 2. Why do I have these in Japanese, you might be wondering? Well, they never actually have released English ports, or they don't have localized versions of these in English. Cold Steel 1 and 2 specifically on Switch. I don't know why, especially the Kai versions. So the Kai versions, they're just not, they're not available in English on Switch. And it's really weird because that's Cold Steel 3. So they did completely localize Cold Steel 3. I mean, it's available on all platforms. Well, I say all platforms. I don't think it's on Xbox, but you can get it on PlayStation, you can get it on Steam, and you can get it on Switch. And it's completely in English, dubbed and everything. And I don't understand why they didn't do Cold Steel 1 and 2, because they're pretty darn good games. And they, you know, I feel like if you're gonna release the second half of a series, like, you should probably consider bringing the first half around. Because yeah, again, we got Cold Steel 4. Like, again, like, why do we have 3 and 4 in English but not 1 and 2 on Switch? It's like, it baffles the mind. Like, but those are cool. I really need to go through those games and see how they play on Switch 2. Because on Switch 1 they were okay, but they had frame pacing issues, and I'm curious to see if the more powerful hardware can keep up with that. You know, make it a little bit better. Probably just locked 30, basically, if I had to guess. So this is another situation of, I'm pretty sure this is the Asia release version of Trails into Reverie. I'm only saying that because of the 15 plus here. It doesn't have the usual Sero rating system you'd see in Japan. It's another Clouded Leopard Entertainment release that I technically already had this game in English through a PC patch, but I wanted to have the Switch copy because there was a period of time where I told myself I was going to collect all of the games on Switch. And right now, the only 2 I don't have, well, 3 I don't have is Daybreak 2, and East 10, which I don't know if I'll ever pick them up because well, I have them on Steam. But cool game. This is basically like the Avengers Assemble moment for this franchise. It's kind of the in-between game for Cold Steel 4 and Kuro no Kiseki, or Trails to Daybreak. So yeah, those are my Switch games. Pretty cool. I like those a lot. Like, I like that, you know, they bothered to make the ports for it. See, I guess I'll do my. Here, we'll do this a little differently. Let's do some boxes. Let's do some big boxes. So I've got my collector's edition for Trails from Zero. I got the whole gang here. You got Randy and Tio on the back, and Lloyd and Ellie on the front. Title up top. Really cool. They basically recreated the PSP artwork, or the PSP box artwork for this one, which I really like. Of course, I wouldn't have Zero without Azure, so I've got my collector's edition box for that. I love these games in particular. These are they're top tier. As the cool kids on the internet would call it, they are Kino. All right, so I guess we'll kind of keep it going with the Trails theming here. This was my imported collector's edition box for Kuro no Kiseki. Really cool. It's got a couple things in there still. It's little art books. Yeah, it's got the little title there. These box sets are really cool. Like, I like it when they do unique setups like this. Definitely really cool. I definitely wish I got the one for the sequel, but it is what it is. You know, I think after that game came out was when we started having kids, and I can't really do this as much as I used to. So I guess we'll grab this. This is my Japanese import collector's edition box for, this is Hajimari no Kiseki, which is Trails into Reverie. And it has like these little character, like kind of transparent art cards in it still. That's the only thing in here. I used to have them on the wall when we were in a different living situation, and frankly, maybe one day I'll get them back up on the wall, because pretty cool. It's basically all of the characters, you know, like the characters from Cold Steel, the Crossbell duology, and also the Trails in the Sky characters. So they're all represented, and it's cool to just see them all laid up on the wall. All right, let's pick up with this one's really cool, because this actually I think for a while was kind of impossible to get. This is for Ys 8 Lacrimosa Donna. It's collector's, well, limited edition, if you will. It's a very fancy limited edition box that let's see if I can get the correct side for y'all. You got Adel there. There's some goodies inside. Got just really great art as usual for Falcom. Yeah, 8 is in my opinion, a modern classic, and this is just a really nice, cool limited edition. I got this with my PS5 version. Originally, I missed out on the limited editions for this. I wish I got it for Switch, but I mean, at the end of the day, the box, I believe, is the same, so really glad I was able to get that with the PS5 version when they did the release on PS5. This is my Ys 9 Monstrum Nox Collector's Edition box. It's got some artwork, got all the characters, and, you know, the big cover art there, title up top. Pretty cool, and it's got this nice little like sleeve that makes it look like the characters are in prison, which is kind of cool, because the game takes place in a prison city. Title inside there. Actually really looking forward to getting back on Ys 9 on the streams, because that's one that I feel like my opinion on it is probably going to shift a little bit. So I was a little middling on it for a while, but I think, you know, after I've matured a little and thought about it, I think it's actually a pretty darn good Ys game. So much so that when we stream, I'm going to do a little something with this. So this right here is a little prequel book. It's a little short novel, about 80 pages. It's just a little prequel to Ys 9, and honestly, I never read it. I was vaguely aware of its existence, and I thought, oh, that's kind of a fun little gimmick, but, you know, I've had some discussions online, and I've been informed that, you know, reading this actually does give you a pretty interesting perspective on, you know, what's going on in Ys 9. So I think on stream, when we hit the point where we're about to play Ys 9, I'm gonna bust this open, and we're gonna read it as a community, and it should be pretty fun, I think. Of course, little more East 9. It's just a very nice leather-bound art book that they put in the collector's edition. It's got just character art mostly, with little descriptions on them. Pretty cool. Falcom loves to do this, like give you a little extra lore on characters that might not be stated in the games, but kind of crazy because their games are just loaded with world building and lore. I feel like they don't really need this, but it's cool they do it. So this here is, I believe this is just for, oh, this is actually a combined thing. So I think this came with East 7, but it's basically an art book that has the 3 PSP East games. So actually this might have come with Othenfelgana. So it's got art from East 7, Othenfelgana, and the Chronicles version of East 1 and 2. So that's pretty neat. And then of course with that I've got my premium edition East, the Othenfelgana. I got this day one. This is my original copy. Really cool. It's basically a remake of East 3. Wanderers from East, that originally was like a side-scroller action RPG that is kind of just okay. This version is obviously way better, and I think the fandom will agree with me on that because it uses the same kind of graphics and combat stylings from like Ark of Nepishtim, and then East Origin, which, yeah, it's just a really good remake in general. And then here we are with one of my favorite. Excuse me, got a little excited. One of my favorites, East 7. So East 7 was very important to me. This was a game that I played quite a bit. In fact, actually now I can see that little art book came from East 7. So East 7 is a very special game that I poured way too much time into on the PSP when it came out. It kind of revitalized my love for this franchise, because there was obviously a gap in time from my younger childhood of playing, the originals on the TurboGrafx, and to this, like, where I just didn't think about it. And I remember seeing this was coming out, and I pre-ordered this, and yeah, it pretty much just brought me right back around to Falcom after a bit of a gap of time. So it's very cool, and I like it a lot. I just want to say that. All right, so I guess we'll wrap things up with my last batch here. Let me do some reorganizing for safety purposes. These are my PlayStation copies. So I've got my PS5 Deluxe Edition copy of East 8, Lacrimosa of Donna. This was basically the version that brought around like 4K textures and improved performance and everything. And really cool. It's got a little soundtrack CD in there. I love it when they do that. It's also got a little art collection book that's fine, I guess. I feel like we've got quite a few of those here. But yeah, so that version, basically after that came out, they released patches for like the PC version to bring it up to that, quality, which was really nice. Of course, got East 9 Monster Nox, my English copy. Again, I'm actually really looking forward to jumping back on this one again. Also has a soundtrack CD in there as well. It's only 5 tracks, but I mean that's kind of cool. You don't see that often. In fact, like, you don't really see cases like this that often, where they have this little extra tab. I don't know what to call that. I'll call it a flap. kind of neat. You don't really see that often anymore. Alright, so here's my Japanese copy of Kuro no Kiseki that I got in my Japanese collector's edition. And there is not an extra flappy in here, but it's actually the only physical copy of this game I have, because I ended up buying the Steam versions. In fact, kind of a funny story there. The community English patched this game and its sequel really early on, and it took a really long time for these games to get released in English on Steam. So I actually have the Japanese versions and the English versions on my Steam account, just because I'm crazy like that. And of course the fan translations are slightly different from the official translations because they're a little more literal, and they don't have the English dubs. Another Japanese copy is for East 10 Nordics. The East games, they're a little nice in that you really don't need like the text necessarily to get through them. Like, you can kind of figure out what you're doing. They are action RPGs after all. It's usually go to destination while killing a bunch of things to level up, and you know, the music's great and you're having a good time. Characters will start talking at you and sometimes you glaze over, but you know, if you're playing in Japanese, if you're playing in English, you should read it because Falcom writers do a good job. Yeah, that was a cool one to pick up. That actually came out on my birthday a couple of years ago. So that was a pretty neat little pickup. Got my Japanese PS4 copy of Trails from Zero. I don't really have to explain myself on this one. I feel I've explained myself plenty when it comes to specifically Zero. And then here's my, these are a little out of order. I guess I got a little too excited. So here's my Japanese copy of Monster Nox East 9. This does not have a flappy. Yeah, there's some explaining to do, I guess. Just a small explaining. Basically, Falcom games, they just took forever to localize. Like, you would see one come out and then maybe like 2 years later, 2 years to almost 3 years later, it would get like an English release. So there was a period of time where I'd be like, oh, new East is out, I want to play it, and I just don't know how long it was going to take to get out. They thankfully have gotten a lot better about it. Like the Trails Through Daybreak or Kuro no Kiseki, those games, the turnaround time wasn't that bad. Like, and way better than it has been. And I think the next entry is going to come out. I think they're doing a global launch, but I'm not entirely positive on that. I'm pretty sure they are. Alright, so here's my Japanese copy of Hajimari no Kiseki, or Trails into Reverie. Again, just never know when Falcom games will get localized. This one's cool. I'm glad that I picked it up, but it's one that I think I'm going to be interested in playing through again. Maybe we could do a trail stream series after East. Maybe, who knows? It might take us 3 years to do it all, but you know, that might be good revisit. This is my Japanese copy of Naruto no Kiseki. This game on Steam, I also got the Japanese copy of that, but they actually released a patch, like just a regular patch that included the English translation, which is really cool. So this was a PSP game, much like East 7. It's actually in the same style as East 7. It is not mandatory to play if you want to play through the franchise. It's very much a spin-off in an alternate world. But it is very cool. The East 7 gameplay is just almost near perfection for me. Alright, so this is why I was a little confused about the ordering. Here's my Japanese copy of Trails from Zero, or Trails to Azure, not bad. It's got a nice little sleeve. There's the game there. course, it's the Kai version. They tout that it has a 4K resolution support, which is, you know, classic. That's it used to be a major selling point, especially for a PS4 game. Like, that's, you know, kind of interesting. And actually has English text on the back. It says everything returned to zero. That's kind of neat. It's really neat that they put this much effort into a package for a PS4 port, you know. So last two things here are pretty cool. So I have my steelbook for Trails of Cold Steel 4. You got Irene Schwarzer there. Got the title on the side and on the back. This is pretty neat. Cold Steel 4 is... I think over time with the Cold Steel games, I've kind of started to put them as not my favorites in the series. I know that's probably blasphemous, or, you know, people might not like that, but it's still really good. Like, it's one of those things where it's like the worst Trails games are better than most other RPGs out there, in my opinion. But I also have probably you're gonna see this one coming, my steelbook case for Ys 8, Lacrimosa Donna. It's very nice, very well made. Of course, it's got the title on the side there and on the back. Yeah, I really like this steelbook. It's just very nice quality artwork. It's kind of textured, so it's kind of got a 3D look to it. Very neat. So yeah, I think that about covers it. That is my entire Falcom collection as it stands right now. I used to have the Ys books 1 and 2 and 3 on the TurboGrafx CD, but a few years ago my dad unfortunately sold those. Would have really liked to have had those in my collection, but it is what it is. I'll probably at some point acquire PC Engine copies, or PC Engine CD copies, because they're a little bit cheaper to acquire. But yeah, I just wanted to share this with y'all because I really care about Falcom as a company. They had their 40th anniversary a few years ago, so I think we're actually maybe potentially coming up on 45 years here really soon. The Ys franchise turns 38 this year. Like, that's crazy. And I think a lot of people don't realize that the Ys franchise is basically like the great grandpa to action RPGs as we know them today. Like, it basically laid out the groundwork for most action RPGs. Falcom was effectively a pioneer in this space. And they've put out plenty of really awesome action RPGs over the years that are very low budget. However, the music and the gameplay and the story and like everything outside of graphics is just well beyond what you would expect. Like, it is all top-notch, high-quality stuff. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to streaming the Ys series for y'all. If you want to tune in on that, basically going to start doing that probably Thursdays and Fridays here soon. We are planning to stream through Donkey Kong Bonanza all the way through, but you know, we'll want some off days, obviously, and on those off days I'll probably stream one of these, and I'm planning on doing a pretty big project with it. Honestly, I think what I want to do is I want to stream all the Ys games in what's considered the story order, and basically once that's all done, I'm going to download all of my VODs and kind of make like a super cut of the entire Ys franchise beginning to end in story order. Just 1 mega video, because that sounds so cool to me, and it's going to be way too long, but I think it's going to be really interesting. You know, I'll probably have to edit it down, of course, but anyways, I just want to throw that out there. I'm very passionate about all of this, and I really hope that I can introduce you all to something new, something cool when I start streaming those. So anyways, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you next time.